Good evening, everybody. This is Shefali Chopra, your storyteller. Well, I'm always looking forward to unfolding stories of amazing people from all facets of life. Today, I have with me Major General Vikram Singh Rathore. He's recently retired from the army. And I must tell you that one thing that I definitely want to talk about is his happy disposition. Look at the big smile on his face. And I promise you, this is going to be a fun filled session. So, I can go on with his introductions, but that is exactly what we had planned not to do this time. So I look forward to this amazing conversation with this incredible man sitting, in front of me. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Shefali. Thank you so much. It's good to be on your channel and having seen the work that you've been doing. It's obviously very different from what, and of course, you're the second one who's interviewing me after I've retired, and which seems to be starting a role, and it gives me a sense of kind of importance, yeah, it's good fun. I'm so happy that I'm able to talk and share my thoughts, and I'm looking forward to a good whatever time we have, and good fun, and I'll share whatever I can, and whatever you want me to share, and I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions and whatever you want.
Well, this is not more like a question answer round. Well, I want to begin right when you were a little kid and, your friends called you Bull with all that love. How did this name really happen?
Okay, Shefali, as you know, I am a product of Lawrence School, Lovedale. Right from 5th class to 12th class, I've studied there. And being in the South, it was a predominantly, not many North Indian kids who used to be there. The only probably North Indian kids were people like us from the defense background. I'm a fifth generation army officer. So my father at some point of time had decided, okay, these kids need to go down south where the academics are taken a little more seriously. So he was in Nigeria at that point of time, posted in the Indian military training team in Nigeria, and he decided to, he had registered us in Doon School, Snar, Sherwood, a lot of places, and we came back to India and we did the entrance exams, and then 1971 war happened, and dad went to war, and he was captured during his action, and he was a prisoner of war for almost a year in Pakistan. And this is 71 was the war. The entire 72 he was in prison in Pakistan, and in 70 I was to join school in 73. So 72, when the letter of admission came, my mother had no idea, what to do, because she was a young girl, married pretty early in life, and then having two sons very early in life. So she, got one of her cousin brothers to pen out a letter to the principal saying, see, this is the situation and he can't join. But I hope you don't cancel his the same, because once if my husband comes back, then we will definitely want to put them, And the beauty of the school and the principal at that point of time, Mr. Vyas, he promptly replied saying that not only will we take your son whenever you send him to school, we will also take your younger son along with him without any questions asked. I mean, that was the magnanimity of the school. And so that's how I landed up in school. And the surprising part is I did not know this story till yesterday when I was talking to Ali, and I mentioned to him that I came to 5th class because my parents wanted both of us to go together. And my mom was listening to the interview, and she said, no, that's not the story, son. The story is this. I said, and she didn't want me to say this because she said, it might be like seeking, unnecessary attention. I said, no, if that's the fact, then let's state the fact. Whereas, I mean, after all, some good human who honored the fact that soldiers, children are seeking admission, and he accommodated us, knowing that he's not there. So that's why I joined Lovedale, and so we were the only Singhs there, Vijay Singh and Vikram Singh were the two Singhs, two or three of us who were there. and I was pretty okay in sports. So my housemaster was Mr. B.L. Singh, again another third, fourth Singh. So when I used to run, he used to say, "You should run like Milkha Singh." So it became
Oh,
like till about eighth class, I was Milkha Singh, and
okay.
then when I was called Milkha. Milkha was my that pet name or whatever you want to call it. So, but when we went to ninth, the body became bigger. You became bigger than most of your peer group, and then I started going into soccer, and then I was a. I mean, they say I was a good guy, good defense line. So I used to be charging around the place. So my sports, Mr. Selva Pakyam, God bless his soul, he said, "Vikram, you are running like a bull today, and like left leg, right leg, you are kicking all around the place." And that was the day until today. That sobriquet of Bull remains, and to my school friends, I'm still Bull, boy or girl, they all call me Bull.
How sweet is
That's
that?
how the
This
name
really,
Bull came
this
in.
really, yeah, this really reminds me of my own dad. My dad was apparently called German Tank. And yes, and I think the story is like whenever he did walk, he did not see anything. He just went on and on and on, you know. So,
That's the right name. That's the right name.
so he was called German Tank. So I know I can relate to this one. When you were just telling me your story, and I realized that wow, 5 generations of in the family being in the air, in the army, in the forces. I mean, my god, it's such a matter of pride. You must be really like, I'm sure it somehow it's a मेरे को सुनने में अच्छा लग रहा है तो when you are in that family, what's the kind of sense of pride you have, isn't it?
It's huge, Shefali. I mean, to be brought up in a family of soldiers, and our family has a kind of a record, if one might use the word, of having been representing the army right from the World War One. I mean, my great grandfather went to war in World War One, and then in World War Two, my grandfather went to World War Two. 62, my grandfather was again in the thick of things in Tenga in Arunachal Pradesh, and he was awarded that time it should call a Vicious Service Vicious Seva Medal Class 1, now which is called as Param Vicious Seva Medal. So he was awarded that for bravery at that point of time because of his actions that he took there. Then my dad. Then came the wars of 71, where my father went to war, and uh, the the fun fact is that all of them who went to war were prisoner of wars. My
Yes, I
grandfather,
know.
my great grandfather, for almost I think anything between 4 to 4.5 years, they were not known whether they're there or not. Similarly, my grandfather, he was in North Africa and then to Germany and Italy. He was there for good about 3.5 years. Dad was there for almost a year plus. So when Prakram happened, that is, if you remember, that is the time when we almost went to war with Pakistan again. This is, I'm
That's right.
talking of, I think it was in 97. No, it was in the 90s when we decided to go to war, and uh, so coincidentally, Dad happened to be there at home and with me where I was based that time, and I told him, Dad, we've got to go, and this time it's for real. Normally, you go for your maneuvers, you go for your training, but this time I said, Dad, this time the orders are pretty specific, and we are going for this thing. So he said, okay. It was his afternoon near siesta time, so he got up and said, okay, only two things I'll tell you. One thing was that our family has this tradition of being a prisoner of war. So between you and your brother, both of us are in the army. So I was in the army. He is in the army now, and so he said one of you has to decide who's going to carry forward the family
The
tradition.
legacy.
So my brother probably said, okay, this guy's from the foot soldiers and he goes ahead. So obviously he's the guy who's going to get caught first, and he's the elder one. So let him go. So that was him. And the second thing which he told me was that, which on a more serious note, he said, "This is what my father told me when I was going to the 71 war. I'm telling you the same thing, that the pain of your loss will be far easier to bear than the pain of your act, which will bring shame to the family."
Wow.
So he said, just remember that when you go to war, don't do anything which dishonors the family. I mean, I will suffer
To
the
lose.
pain of losing you in battle, but not of you, somebody telling me that you did what you should not have done in battle. So that's the
Right.
kind of tradition we were brought up in. And,
Right.
the fun fact is that I didn't want to join the army.
Okay.
It was, I think, probably because my mother, after what she went through post 71, until my father was, we found that he was alive and well. She probably had in her mind that, yeah, this is not the best way to go. And as a young mother of two, she had no house to go to, and so she said, no, no, this is not the life. And
Right.
she told me, no, you must look at other things. So I also got enamored. I said, okay, I found medicine a good one, and after school, I left school and went to Delhi straight, because Delhi was the coaching center for PMT. And those days it was called PMT. Askal, it is called NEET. That time it was called PMT. So we joined the coaching classes, and I did my BSc also. And I miserably failed in all the entrance exams. Didn't clear even one. So so then I
That's
finished my
you
college.
were meant
And
to do something much bigger. You were
sorry.
really meant. I said you were meant to do something much bigger.
You, actually, but that time that doesn't strike your mind. No, that time you're more worried of the failure. You're saying, okay, yeah, like, what's this? Yeah, nothing is working out, and you worked so
Right.
hard. And I always felt that I worked harder there than I did for my plus two exams. Like, that is the kind of
Oh,
effort I put into it, and I didn't get anywhere. So for me, actually, school was fun. College was miserable, because first 2 years went in this. Last year went in catching up my grades, because I was a BSc student. So BSc, you got a lot of things to catch up. So
lots to
catching up,
study.
and then lot of studies, lot of catching up. You want to improve your grades also, so you got to do exams again, first year exams again, second year exams
Right.
again.
Right.
And then I said, okay, fine, let's look at the other side. So I got an interview with a tea company called McNeil and Mager, which were east based. So I thought, chalo, it's another Fauji kind of life, so let's go ahead and do it. They said, okay, you're good, but we'll wait. If we have a vacancy, we'll call you. And before that, management training concept had just started. And there was this company called Bharati Electric Steel. These guys called me, and I promptly ran there. And in Faridabad, staying in Delhi in a Barsati in Defense Colony, and busing it to Faridabad every day. Early 6:30, catch the bus, come back by 7:39, cook your own meal, and no outing, no exercise, no game. I
God.
said, yeah, this is not the way to go. I 6-7 months down the line, I said, no, 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 this is not the place. So I quietly sat for the combined defenses exam, and I opted for OTA, the Short Service Commission, primarily because it had only English and general knowledge to pass. So, and maths
Okay.
was not my forte. So I chose that. Okay, let me at least get there. So passed the exam. Then when the call for the interview reached home, that's when my dad and mom got to know that I've sat for this exam. And but
Wow.
then mom was crestfallen, but she said, okay, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, then go ahead. And that's how, Shefali, I joined the army. And since then, not a day of regret, not a day of sulking, not a day of looking back. It's been a fun
Wow.
ride all the 35 years.
I'm enjoying listening to you so much, and I can actually pick up threads and tell you there are so many things which are common. Kind of. I'll tell you. It's like when you take pride in, your family being from army. I have a little thing to share as well. My Nanaji, my grandfather, he was in the forest. Okay, so
Okay.
as a little girl, when I was in school, people would boast. You know how it is. So I would say, मेरे नाना ने शेर मारा है शेर मेरे नाना ने भालू मारा है. So I, aaj to pata nahi, I don't know what they will do to people like that, but I'm just telling you. And I used to think, I guess, oh my God, my Nana must be so powerful. And we like how little children take pride in these little things. I think I took my share of pride talking about my Nana quite a bit when I was young. And one thing that I also again connect with you is maths. Maths happens to be my not so favorite subject. In the नील बट्टा सरनाटा, वो मेरे को दो भी ना फोर नजर आता है. My teacher would say, "You can't you like copy one number from इस पेज से इस पेज में." I think I was psyched even till date. I swear, if anybody gives me some money to count, I think I'm going to count that like 10 times. They must be wondering what's wrong with this mad woman. But the problem is, it's not the money. It's my fear of maths. So I can relate to these things. And today, and of course, when you went to the army, it must have been such a fantastic thing. And today, when I look at you and saying, my God, there is no regret, that's another thing that is common, which is I decided a couple of years ago that no, there is no word like regret in my dictionary. So whatever I do, whether it's wrong, whether it's right, there is going to be no regret at all.
Absolutely. That's the way to go, actually. That's the way to go. You can't regret. If you tried and you failed, there's no regret. You tried.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Bang on. I mean, at least you
There's all
tried.
reason
So
to be regretting.
does not matter. It does not matter.
It
I
doesn't
was
matter. So
does not matter. I was listening to your story and I realized that you have a younger brother who's in the same field and he's still in the army.
yeah,
Well, of course, as we all siblings grow up, we take a lot of pride in each other, and we're like, very good, my brother, my sister. But as kids, I need to know that as kids, there must have been rivalry.
as kids, actually, Shefali, to say rivalry, it wasn't much because we are very close. Like I'm April, and I'm April 64. He's November 65. So there
Okay.
was more of competition in terms of when you used to play with each other. I mean, like when you're playing a game and you're like that's the time you had. We never had fistcuffs or things like that. Because what happens is in the army from very young age, when your parents have to go for social commitments or official commitments, you are invariably left together with each other, and
True.
that is the time when the elder brother sort of that protective air comes around, and you want to see that nothing goes wrong. In fact, in my mother once tells me in Nigeria, I was what I would have been about I think 4 years old, 4.5, 5 years old, and they were out somewhere, and my brother said he was hungry. So,
Okay.
I had this thing of seeing people do things and, trying to understand how. So I used to see my mother making eggs. So I knew exactly from where the egg was taken and where the masala dabba is there. And imagine a 4-year-old. I'm told I put together this anda, and the only difference was that instead of mirchi, I put haldi. I couldn't make out which is, and I cooked it and I gave it to him, and he was like, he must have been 3.5 years old. I mean, so
Okay.
when you're alone, and and as we grew till we came into school, and of course beyond, it was always like that because when the parents were in the house and we were playing and we would be at each other's throats, no, manajita, no, you cheated, you cheated. But when we were alone and when parents were not in the house, then I used to be like, like, "Nahin, this guy, nothing can go wrong." And similarly was in the school. And uh, in the school, when we joined together, I sort of was privileged to be the head boy. We have three parts to our school, prep school, and which is from 4th to 6th. Then there's a junior section, which is 7th and 8th, and then the senior section, that is from 9th to 12th. So in the prep and the junior sections, I was the head boy. So and more so in the prep school, I know in that eagerness to be seen as a fair and square kind of a leader, I probably have gone stricter on my brother and like pushed him or punished him a number of times when I need not have done it, only to prove a point
Mhm.
to the people that, so those are a few things which I think that I have may have missed out on. I mean, I shouldn't have done now when I think over the years. But then, at that time you want to be seen as a fair and square leader, and you don't want to be seen as taking sides of anybody, and being giving a shelter, as we call it. But yeah,
Right.
but at the back of my mind, I always had him covered. I said nothing's going to go wrong with this guy, as long as whether it's selection to the school teams or the house teams. I was always there getting him in, and of course he is an excellent sportsman, so he always found his spot. But then that little thing of being there, I could talk people, and but he always found his spot purely on his talent. But then I had the thing that I ensured that he was with me wherever we went. We went together in school.
Wow.
Yeah, but as the kids, when we were playing with each other, it was mad. It was like we would be wild. We would be tearing at each other. But otherwise, no. Otherwise,
Yeah, I think people preconceive, people think of other people as they are growing up in life, like the kind of position that you have held. वो सोचते हैं कि शायद यही 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 सत्य है. This is it. This is what he
yeah,
is. But according to me, there are so many facets in every human being. There's a child, there is humor, there is stress, there is excitement. There are so many facets to every human being. And even if we have grown up, there are certain things that we always keep alive. And when I talk to you, I realized that even when I was growing up, um, I yes, just like you explained, like in front of our parents, we would just pick up some kind of stupid fight unnecessarily, not even needed, not even required. Pillow fighting, this and that. I want this, and oh, I also want this, and I want to sit on this chair, and so do I. But when we were left by ourselves, I think we kind of protected each other. And I think that is a very very beautiful aspect of you, which just comes out in a part of a story, that you're a very protective man when it comes to your family, to your loved ones, and you're not biased. That is what your story tells me. Like when you said to me that you would just to prove a point, it was not for anything else. If you really think about it, it was about, I am just, and that's exactly what you were.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
that that, that
that's your trait. That's a beautiful trait that comes in this story. And then, of course, you went to the army. You got over a period of time, you got settled there, and then, of course, you got married, and moved forward in life. I want you to share a story with us, which, I mean, there are many stories from army, and I know that. But I want you to share that one special story that comes to your mind, which you have not shared with anyone, and which somehow changed the dimension or a thought pattern in your life.
okay. I think I'll go back to my stint when I was in uh, doing my operations in J&K.
Sure, and it happens to be my favorite sector, because I come from JNK.
Okay, okay. So, and I tell this to everybody, unless you've been there, you can never understand the strife of the local people there. You can never understand it. I mean, you can read volumes of books, but unless you've lived there and you've been with them, you will never ever understand what the problem is. And in my kind of I belong to a unit which is a desert specialist unit. So we specialize in desert operations. But I had to do my tour for the Rashtriya Rifles, as you would have heard. There's an organization called Rashtriya Rifles in the army, which does these anti-terrorist operations. So I was nominated to go there, and I'm talking of 2002 and 3, when things were really bad. I mean, things were really bad. Operations were every day. We were having encounters, and it was bad. So when I entered, I got off at the Jammu railway station. There were people to receive me, and this team which had come, they were all with their bulletproof jackets, and they had their bulletproof headgear, and all of them armed. And the moment I got off, they said, "Sab, I got ready. I wore my uniform, and they promptly gave me a battle jacket, this bulletproof jacket, a patka, and they handed me my AK. Said, "Sab, ye aapka hatiyar hai. Ye itna magazine, itna ye. This is what you have to keep uh, on you throughout, as long as you." I said, "Yeah, this is my country. This is why do I have to do that?" And I did ask the Jawan, of course, and I was just thinking to myself, why the hell am I have to do this? I mean, what's so wrong? I mean, what's so wrong? Everything seems to be normal. People seem to be going to the market. It's a bustling town, and why is it there? And then we drove up, and I was in the area somewhere around Poonch and between Poonch and Rajouri. And then I realized ki, who do you blame for what the situation is there? I mean, the local people, they are at at the worst end of both sides. I mean, at one end, the terrorists are troubling them. At the other end, you have you have the military, the paramilitary forces, putting pressure on them. You're constantly patrolling the area, going into the villages to check houses for any people sheltering. And the first few months, I was pretty disturbed. I said, "No, why does have to thing like this have to happen? And why do we have to be so? Why don't we understand what the problem is, then handle the situation? It's a simple thing that when a terrorist crosses into the country, and he comes inside and he walks into a poor man's house in one of the remote corners, and he says, "हम रात को सोएंगे," and etc., and खाना दो, and next morning we are going, किसी को बताना मत. While going, he gives them $500 or $100, and he goes. So now, for a person who has, nothing to, and no place to earn, no place to, he goes there, he picks up this guy, and next day, obviously, the local forces come to know that they have come to his house. They come, and this guy makes sure while going, he tells him, "See, now what will happen? Army will come, or CRPF will come, or police will come, and they will bash you up badly. And see, I'm a good guy. मैं तुम्हारे घर में तो रहा, but तुमको पैसा तो दे के गया ना. तो ये मारा तो नहीं, पीटा तो नहीं." And exactly that is what happens. And you come into, and then that's how they were being taken away from the governance into the militants' circle of influence. And at that time, we had a very phenomenal general officer. That time, he was popularly known as Hardy Leader, HS Leader, a very fine gentleman. I think he then one day called me, and we both. I just listened to him, and he gave me a few books to study, and then having understood the whole construct as to why this is happening, it totally changed my way of operating in J&K, and that is when that was one of the most phenomenal changes from being a purely aggressive guy. He said, "Ki acha bataya nahi, bang that chap, smash him, hit him," from a guy to understanding his point of view and talking to him and then coaxing him to share information and guarding his secret. The attitude completely changed into, and believe you me, we were very successful. We did a number of operations. We went without any collateral damage. We had a lot of, in one of the times, after we had established ourselves there, one of the times, we were just walking in this routine patrol, and it was going around a mountain, and there was a lady coming from the other side, an old lady carrying wood on her head. So she said, she just walked past me without stopping. She said, "Beta, thoda dhyan rakhna aage." And she walked past. So the moment she said that, I realized there is something wrong. These women don't normally make, and she was a very old lady. I think she must have been um, 55, 60, that kind of thing. She said, "Beta, aage dhyan rakhi," in that Gojri language. So I told these guys, "Okay, let's take a check what's ahead." And true enough, these guys were there. They were waiting for us, and we could uh, we had the encounter and we could, not suffer any casualties on our side. So then I realized that if you have a change in attitude and if you understand what is the problem there, you will be far happier and far more, you get far more respect and response from the local population. And we used to, the government gave us so much of opportunity to do welfare projects, and that we used to do a large number of welfare projects, making small, hydel dams, small dams, small check dams, so that the water gets controlled and the ladies don't have to go far away for getting water from the spring. Small things we could do. Then medical camps, and that one tenure, Shefali, in J&K actually changed my
Perception.
attitude from being a purely offensive guy, and but the outlook, as far as the militants were concerned, remained, because I had grown far bigger mustache than this. I was having that, the huge mustache, and then one of the days, those officers who are responsible for monitoring the transmissions of, he said, "Sir, आपको पता है आपका नाम आदम खोर है?" तो मैंने कहा, मतलब, हाँ। तो जैसे कि एक तो आपका साइज, ऊपर आपने मूछें कर रखी है, और दूसरा आप किसी से मतलब यू ऑलवेज कम आउट विद अ वेरी strong and officious presence. So they have codenamed you in Adam Khor, and the word is that if Adam Khor is out of his camp, you better not do anything. Just keep quiet. I mean, just lie low and wait for him to go. So when did that happen? I really don't know. But it's just that I did what I thought was right, after being, of course, tutored by General Leader. And he is the one who actually opened my eyes. And then we went into writing a book, and then we went into a system of ensuring that, excuse me, that all the young and the new officers who are coming into this area go through this gallery of ours and understand why things are happening there, not go berserk, because a young mind, not controlled, he has the firepower in his hands, he has the freedom to do, he can do more damage than he can do good. So
True.
to be able to convince them to what is the way to approach the issue, and why should the poor local villagers suffer from both ends, from the militant side and from your side. I mean, that's not fair. If you are a
Yeah.
true operator, if you're a true soldier, then you have to protect him, irrespective of what he says or what he does. You have to get the terrorist, and not uh, get this, who he may be offensive to you, he may not like you, but still he's your country person. You can't antagonize or bring harm to him to the best of your capability. So that was one tenure, Shefali, which actually changed a
Change
lot
your,
of my perception.
yeah.
And I can only thank General Leader for that,
Very,
because
very sensitive state. And I have been in and out. I hail from JNK, and it's a very sensitive state, and people really have gone through a lot. And I mean, I'm not going to say right or wrong, but then definitely pain is something universal, and even if you can feel that pain of somebody and work towards it, I think uh, nothing bigger than that. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and I have seen how a
absolutely,
mob, I know exactly how a mob mentality works. At that point of time, people forget who they really are, and they're just
yeah,
guided by some kind of shitty forces, and you can't help it. But I think I mean, they have shown strength in the state. Of course, there are times when there have been real mishaps. Let's not talk about negativity. And
yeah,
and I think my focus would be on stuff that is positive. I always tell people, the way we declare war, how about declaring peace and love and sanity and positivity everywhere? I wish I
yeah.
could. I think I would probably call myself the brand ambassador of some kind of peace and positivity. And yeah, absolutely, because the whole idea is, you take a little stone and you put it in the river somewhere. You realize that there are there are certain ripples that are created right there. And that's exactly
Mm,
how a little seed of positivity or a negativity works. Whatever you sow, so shall you reap. If you're going to think and brood over
absolutely,
all things which are negative,
absolutely,
sorry, but
absolutely.
there is not no positivity that is going to come out of you. And
Absolutely.
if you really ask me, there is no country in the world, there is no person in the world that has not gone through this kind of a graph.
Yeah.
So it is what you focus on. It is really what you focus on. And I'm sure it's not like army was like the bed of roses, all through happy. You must have stayed away from the family. You must have stayed away from the people who really matter to you. And then when you said that you did go for, like when you were away and when you were leaving your dad, and he obviously, because he created a bit of humor for you to keep it light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very important, because humor is something that keeps you light anyhow. I mean, worst of situation, when we fall down and we laugh about it, I think that's cute, because then that gives us strength to get up. The whole idea is
Ah,
that.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think humor is something that we all must actually nurture and keep working towards it, because that really keeps one alive. And हाँ, आपकी मूछों को देख के मुझे याद आया, like अगर आपको आदम खोर कहते थे, thank God they weren't calling you नथु राम. मूछें हो तो नथु राम.
I think in that kind of area, these good ones don't come. Only the bad ones turn up. These good
I
thoughts don't come. Uh,
I know, I can understand that. But yes, अच्छा है वो रोब बना रहना चाहिए भैया, हम भी
ah,
वही जनरल हैं, मेजर जनरल. So it's अच्छा है, रोब अच्छा दिखता है. But I really want to cover the aspects of your family, because you were away from family. The first person that is most affected is your spouse, your kids, your parents, and then of course siblings and everybody else. Um, how do they actually react when you have to be away for such a long time, and you're not able to connect, you're not able to write, you have to keep everything so hidden? I mean, I can't actually imagine, general, that where would that strength be coming from?
Shefali, actually, God's been kind in that in my 35 years, I think we've only been separated three or four times. I mean, and they were in, except one when I was in J&K. Other were sort of happy times in the sense, I was in a station posted there, but they could always come during the vacations.
Okay.
But this is a major fact that you've brought out. That these are issues which I think nobody understands. Nobody will understand, and it won't be right for me to even say as to from where the strength comes, because this is the the lady wives of the officers and men of the army. Now, like today, you just imagine you've got mobile phones, you've got connectivity. I shudder to think at the time when my mother was there, and when they were away, you used to get that. We used to call it a lal letter. It was a red-colored inland letter. If you remember, I don't know whether you remember. There used to be an inland letter. This used to be red in color, and it used to be only forces letter because it was given free of cost to one letter per week to the officer or jawan to write home from the post, and that was the only way of information. And for that matter, even when I was in RR and JNK, the only connecting STD had just started in JNK at that point of time. So Sunday to Sunday, STD was the only method of getting a call through and just saying hi, hello. She would understand, okay, he's alive.
He's fine. Yeah.
But you know what? On a lighter side, some people came up much later with more novel ideas. You know what they used to do? They would go
Yeah.
to a ATM and draw, say, $100. So the
Okay.
message used to go home. He
Oh, he's
$100 have
alive.
been drawn. So he's okay. So that was another way of trying to tell them because most of the times there were so many people, lines were few. You would go on dialing, 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 dialing. It would never work. If you were lucky, you got through and you just said, "Okay, I'm okay, all good, everything is good." And
Mm, mm,
it's difficult for them. Yeah, it's difficult for them because, like for me, I was fortunate to see both my kids. I mean, my daughter was born in front of me. My son, I couldn't make it in time. Both of them, I was not there for their 10th class. Both of them, I was not there for their 12th class. I mean, they have done it. My wife has done it on her own. And in fact, when my daughter was going through her 10th, class, my wife decided to do her B.Ed as a regular. So she was doing her own classes, and because see, in the yesteryears, to be a serving man's wife, the most appropriate job was a teacher,
Teaching,
because you
yes.
could teach in the local school over there and you could still live with him. But
Right.
today, of course, things are different. They're both they're corporate leaders, and so they find. But in our days, it was like you wanted to be together, so the lady chose to, it's a good option. So she decided to B.Ed karna hai. So she was doing a B.Ed. My daughter was going through a 10th class, and and I was not there. I was in Mizoram, but they managed. I mean, my daughter passed out with good flying colors. Then she came to Delhi. She joined Jesus and Mary, and then she did her masters in JNU. And today, after doing all that masters in ancient history from JNU, she decided to become a patisserie chef. So today she's a
Wow.
patisserie chef. She's a fine chef, and she has a patisserie shop of her own running in Mao over here, and she's very busy with that. But a lot of collective strength comes in the army, in the sense that in a station there are a large number of ladies who are not staying with the family. So there is a lot of collective strength which the system brings in them. And then you have the army, which is specifically targeting, looking after these what we call field area family accommodations. Those ladies, men, officers, men who are serving in the field, and their wives are staying. So there is a concerted effort by the station commanders to ensure that they're well looked after. But nothing can take away the presence of the father or the husband being in the house. But the system is such that they take care. And to narrate an incident once, we were staying in a field area. Families were permitted there, and we were out for some maneuvers or some training for good about 4 or 5 days. And on the same day, my daughter cut her foot with a bottle, and she had stitches. And the same evening, my son went into high fever and convulsions. So the
Oh my
only
God.
person behind was the doctor. But since
Oh,
it was like a community living arrangement. So she just came out of the house and shouted to the neighbor, who was a senior lady and had bigger children, had seen more of motherhood. She came running and she said, "Kuch nahi karna, pani dalo sar pe, ye karke." They brought it down, and the and though all the ladies got together, and what she tells me that the children went to the one of the ladies' house and told the lady ki Keshu, my son's pet name is Keshav. Keshu बहुत बीमार है, आप जाओ जाओ जाओ. So all the ladies landed up, and all the children started playing in one place, and the ladies got to my house. And the doctor was behind, and they were looking for the doctor, and doctor for some reason could not be found. And when he came, the poor chap, young man, Captain Saab, 4 or 5 years into service, he was hollered upon by all these ladies. Where are you? What is this, that? He was poor chap was didn't know what to say. He said, "Ma'am, sorry, ma'am, ठीक है, ma'am, but he's okay now. अब कुछ नहीं होगा, बुखार दे दिया, दवाई दे दिया, nothing will happen." So the lady who is the senior one, she says, "Shalini, बुखार आएगा. रात को 2 बजे फिर से आएगा. Don't panic, just wet his hair and he'll be okay." Doctor's trying to sheepishly say, "मैम डॉक्टर हूँ, मैम दवाई दे दिया, नहीं आएगा." तो ये सब तुम्हें कुछ पता नहीं है, पक्का आएगा. And true enough, in the night it came again, the fever came again, and Shalini did the same thing. So you have this collective strength of
yeah.
the ladies there, and over the years, it grows. And like my wife, for one, she was for totally civilian background. She
Okay.
had nothing to do with the forge. Her entire family are zamindars. They are farmers and landlords, and they've never seen anybody going for a salaried job. So for her to get married to an and the other than my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, nobody in the family was happy with this marriage, because saying कि इनके पास कुछ जमीन भी नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं, कहाँ शादी करा रहे हो? I mean, what will she do? क्या करेगी? Property नहीं, कुछ नहीं. But they said कि नहीं. My mother-in-law was from a service background. She said नहीं नहीं,
Okay.
तनख्वाह है, फौज है, she'll be very happy, don't worry, and all that. So
Mm.
that's how she came, and from absolutely knowing nothing about the army to today, uh, she was a very effective partner wherever I've been in command, and she's learned everything up the way. And from somebody in a family, I think she was the first one in a family who went to a salary and bought a car from her own money. She wouldn't take the
Wow.
money from me. She that's how the organization is. It teaches you a lot of things, and till date, both her brothers, they've only bought things from what the money their father gave them. Whereas she bought her car with her own earned money, and she is so proud
Wow.
about it. He
Sense
wouldn't let
of
me touch
pride.
it.
Yeah, what
Ah,
sense of pride?
so
Absolutely.
but that's the strength of this organization. It holds your hand at all times, and it pushes you into situations which make you grow.
How
That is
beautiful.
what she could have done is she could have said कि नहीं नहीं मेरे से नहीं होता मैं तो जा रही हूँ. She would have gone to my mother or to her mother's place and said कि नहीं मेरे से नहीं होता. She didn't do that, and the organization was there throughout with her to ensure that uh, and to a large extent we owe it to, of course, her resilience, and also
Of
to the organization which actually helped her or goaded her or pushed her into situations where she's now, I mean, nobody who would meet her would say that she is not from an army background. She's as good or as bad as any army brat.
so
She's
sweet.
that thing.
How nice.
So that's how it is.
This is something to learn from the army. Whenever I hear people from army backgrounds, in fact, my uncle also happens to come from, my mamaji comes from army background as well.
Okay.
Um, I see that thing in them, वो जज्बा होता है. They talk about community, they talk about togetherness, they talk about everybody standing up for everybody, and providing that kind of a shield. I really wish, अगर कहीं ऊपर कोई सुन ले, I really wish from the bottom of my heart कि काश हम सारे लोग ऐसे सोचें. I mean, if we actually live like a community together, I mean, we have heard of all those stories when the sticks put together, you can't break them, and a singular stick,
uh,
we can break them. But
Correct.
these are things to learn, these are things to imbibe. और कहीं से भी कोई अच्छा सीखने में कोई बुराई नहीं है. So
कोई
when you
बुराई
talk
नहीं,
about
absolutely.
stories, when you talk about such stories, they really melt my heart, and I really wish somebody out there is listening to us and our story, because really speaking, my belief as a storyteller is one story can change many lives. One story can change the story of many lives. And
Right.
not only that, when I speak about grit or determination or faith or positive things or whatever, I realize that who knows, somewhere somebody listening to me might think, all right, Chifali said something like this, maybe I can give it a shot, maybe I can give it a try. And the whole idea is of transforming people's thought lines, transforming people's narratives. And it's very easy. I read it somewhere, I must share this with you, and I'm sure you will have your part of knowledge to share with us. I read somewhere that in life, whatever situation is and whatever your narrative or story is, if you want, you can change it, you can change the narrative. Do you agree?
You can. I mean, the problem is that most of us are not willing to take that step. To step into the unknown and undefined is a problem which most of us have. But fortunately for us, in the army, every day is unknown and undefined. I mean, you really don't know what you're going to get up. I mean, like I was telling you before we went live, that when I was commanding my division and I was, I was looking forward to doing so many things. I said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And one fine day, Corona happens and everything is gated, and the focus is totally shifted to how do I keep my men safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
drop all those dreams, you drop all those thoughts. I mean, like, when you come to a stature of authority of that kind where you really can do things, one waits for it and one prepares for it. One has a lot of, as a wish list or a bucket list. Everything went down the drain. I said, friend, all gone. Now, how safe you keep your men and don't lose a single person to this dreaded disease is your focus. So that's
Right.
how. So you have to just switch, and only you can do it, and only you can do it, and nobody else can do it. Okay. So if you need to change your narrative, you need to do it yourself and get up and go. I mean, you can't procrastinate. You can't, like I keep telling. I'm here. I was tutoring young officers, 7 to 11 years service into their command aspects. So I tell them, ki, you can't let the brain take command of your body. You have
Right.
to let your heart tell your brain to do what you want it to do.
True.
Everybody says the heart, the brain is. I said somebody has to tell the brain. No, you can't wait for the brain to tell you. So if you tell your brain that, friend, I am going to run this 40 kilometers without a problem, do what you want. Nobody in the world can stop you. But if your brain tells you, boss, 40 kilometers hai, garmi hai, mar jayega, pasina aayega, bhari, you got 40 kilos at your back, what the hell are you thinking? I mean, you can just go ahead. So it's the way. So I keep telling them, you can't let your heart rule your brain. I mean, your heart shouldn't rule your actions. Heart should
Right.
rule your brain, and brain will come out with the correct action at that point of time. This is one of the points which I try and drive home to these guys, because it is end of the day, it is you and only you who are responsible for what you do and what you want your life to do, come out as. I mean, nobody else is going to do it for you. So I mean, that's the way
Absolutely.
I look at it.
Well, of course, your tenure with army is all done, and so-called we've been there, done that, dusted, and you've enjoyed your highs, and being in army and enjoying this kind of a position. And then when you're back to so-called reality, and hits you in the face somehow. And I've heard
Yeah.
of stories. I've heard of stories, people coming back and they say, "Oh, this is so plain Jane. Where are all those people gone who used to, run behind us, and everything was designated to people, polish my shoes, get my shirt out, the Jeep is ready, sir," stuff like that. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need to know, when you came back, are you still as bossy as you were?
yeah. Shefali, everybody knows who's the boss in the house. Okay, so the moment you are inside the gate of the house, your demeanor, your everything changes. Okay, and when you're out of the house, then you're a different person. So in my house, I still pick up my own shoes. I still put my own dress into the hanger and put it inside. That's how we have been brought up. Actually, that's how we
Wow.
have been brought up. And
Mm. Mm.
there are a lot of stories about your Batman and your Sayak, and
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
long stories go around. Ki, okay, these guys, they misuse. Okay, I'm for not for any reason trying to uh, not trying to guard or protect anything. I'm not going to go there. But
yeah,
I must talk about this institution. This institution of a Batman in those days, and Buddy as we call him now. It is such a pure and such a wonderful thing that when I come back to my room, whether when I was not married, and now when I'm married, there is this one guy who knows exactly what you want to do. I mean, where you're going to sit, where you're going to, what is the next thing you want to do, and he just makes it so convenient for you. The first carpet, we have these. When we are training in the academy, you will be surprised to know that 20% of the training is only done by officers.
right,
80% of the guys who train us are the Havaldars and the JCOs, the NCOs and the JCOs. So they are our key trainers. I mean, they are what we are today is what they have taught us and what they've trained us to be.
right.
So now when you go to a unit, you have somebody called a Subedar Major, who is actually like the father of the men. The commanding officer is the overall boss, but they connect with the Subedar Major first, and then the Subedar Major comes to the commanding officer. So I went to the unit which my father commanded. So the Subdar Major at that point of time was my father, used to be my father's company JCO. And my first carpet which I bought as a youngster, not married, was thanks to him. You know, he in Badmer, we used to get these woolen carpets, and he used to get them for people. So one day he sent
Okay.
me a carpet. He said, "ये रख लो." तो मैंने कहा कितने का है? बोला साहब ये 3,000 का है। मैंने कहा साहब तनख्वाह 1,200 रुपए की है, 3,000 का कार्पेट मैं कहाँ से लाऊंगा? बोला मैंने पैसे मांगा है। Did I ask you? मैंने पैसा मांगा? बोला नहीं मांगा तो पर देना तो है ना। तो मैंने बोला मैं अपने आप ले लूंगा, तू बट यू कीप इट, अच्छा पीस है, तेरे को मिलेगा नहीं बाद। I said, fine. I kept it. And that was the only carpet that I ever bought in my life, and which is now proudly I roll out in my house. So then you have these guys who are there with you. You know, you're coming back tired, and you know that you've got, he knows what's your next thing coming up. So he's already set up those things for you. So, you know, this institution is something which, and these guys are, we leave our money with them, we leave our purses with them, we leave our ATM cards with them. Most of them know our PIN numbers. But I mean, it is something which they will never ever misuse. I mean, and that's the kind of relation we have.
Wow.
I'm going to miss that. Positively,
Yeah.
I'm going to miss that. I'm
I'm
going
sure.
to miss that. See,
Yeah.
as a family, we've never been dependent. We've never been taught to be dependent. Neither did my parents, nor did I to my children. I said, you have to do your own stuff. If you need some help in that, you can ask him. But otherwise, it's purely up to him whether he does it or not, because he's supposed to just do my stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then these guys become so close to you that, you know, then they said, "Ja, sab
Like
baby hai,
family.
कर
Yeah.
देता हूँ ये कर." So I used to sometimes shout them, क्यों कर रहा है? बोला साहब आपके दो जूते पॉलिश कर रहा हूँ, एक उसका कर देता हूँ, क्या फर्क पड़े? So
And
that is something which we are going to miss, because that I can't carry forward now. So that
I
is one thing which I'm going to miss. Uh,
yeah.
and
Well,
as
I'm
far as the
sure that the way
part,
you are going to miss them, I'm sure they are going to miss you as well because it's a bond that you have created
it's a
over a
bond.
period
It's
of
a
time.
lifelong bond. It's a
It's
lifelong bond. And
a life.
so, I'm not going to miss that car standing there, and that somebody opening the door for me, and, you know, going 10,000 people saluting me when I go past. I honestly am not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss that. I'm going to miss the security that this environment gives me.
Give you.
You know, today when I'm in the army, you know, there are a lot of things I can just, people will do. But I have to, you know, not that it doesn't happen after you leave, but
Yeah.
then after you leave, you don't, you have to think twice before you're asking somebody for something. But
Right.
here the system is so fine that it does, you know, take cares of everything. So this security of being in a is definitely I'm going to miss. The glamour, not so much. I mean, I really, I'm done with that. I've been there, done that, as you said, done and dusted. So one has seen, and we've always believed that live the life when you have it. When you don't have it, live the way you're supposed to live. So, I mean, we live it as the circumstances tell us. So that way, like today, after I retired on 30th, we both me and my wife tee off every morning at 5:45, play our 9 holes, go to the swimming pool, swim, come back, have
Wow.
breakfast, then do knick-knack. So, I mean, I drive my own car now. I mean, there's nobody there to do that kind of work. So, what I'm going to miss is that security, or that camaraderie, or that, you know, that sense of protectiveness that you have when you are in a cantonment. I'm going to miss that, because once you get out in the civil street, you're worried abhi tala lagaun, koi aayega piche. When you're in the cantonment, you're not really worried about anything. I mean, you can
Yeah.
leave your house
Everything is
unlocked and
safe.
walk, and there's,
Yes.
so
Everything.
that's what I'm going to miss. But the lifestyle, the party, or the jing bang of getting saluted, and, you know, I don't think that really doesn't matter. That really doesn't.
That's fantastic. I think you're pretty sorted and you exactly know what you're missing, which is uh, the bond that you have created. And that will always be irrespective of where you are, it'll always stay. And the beauty is that you're moving forward and looking forward to this kind of a new life. I mean,
Absolutely, absolutely.
and this is something you're going to discover as you as you move on day after day. Some new aspects about your own self, about people that matter to you. I think I really wish you new beginnings, because according to
Thank
me, these
you.
are new beginnings. I
New
really
beginnings,
wish you
absolutely.
new beginnings.
Absolutely.
And I am so sure, with this kind of a smile, with this kind of strength of character, with this kind of the determination that you have, moving forward would not be difficult. It is going to be a fantastic journey ahead, and I really, really, really wish you all the best. And I can
Thank
see
you so much.
that your life partner is like a pillar next to you, so I wish her
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely.
I wish her too. And I'm wishing a lot of success to your children. And it's so nice to know that your daughter is a patisserie chef. And it really makes me feel that the new journey that is about to unfold is definitely, it's like a little fairy telling me it's going to be beautiful. I can tell you
Thank you
that.
so much. Thank you so much. So kind.
Thank you so much for taking out this time and unfolding these aspects of your story, because it's never possible to complete everything. And I like to really highlight these kind of things from people that matter. And thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much,
for
Shefali.
taking this time out. Thank you so much. And thank you, viewers. I am sure you are going to learn something new today from what Major General Vikram Singh has shared with us. So, bye for now. We'll again be back with a new story. So, see you soon. Bye.